end of a very good, productive summer and the start of a school year, really, all happened so quickly. Summers fly by, this one especially, with the new recruiting calendar and the recruiting model kept us very busy in the month of June, as in July, and then our trip to Italy, which was fantastic. One of the best experiences that I've had in basketball was that trip. It was so well put together. We stayed in great places. We saw great cities. The educational piece of that was not just for our players. I think it was for our coaches as well. We endured a little bit, obviously, with some of the visa issues that those two young men had, and I feel just terrible for them that they didn't get to experience Italy. We did get tremendous amount of positive things from the standpoint of 10 practices, of which 8 of those were two-a-days. So that part of the summer was fantastic, and then the trip itself was fantastic, and the gyms were a little warm, but overall, I think we came out of that a better basketball team with some questions answered that we feel great about. So, and we needed answered, and we still have some that are out there, but we feel much better, and I think we got out of that trip everything that we had hoped to get out of that.
What was the timing of that trip for your program, Brad, and where you're at? Did that line up really well for you guys?
Well, absolutely. It's nice to have a group of veterans back and to be able to enhance and move forward with just your teachings in those 10 practices, and then to add some pieces and not have a complete overhaul as we would have had we gone the year before. So the timing was perfect, and it was a great opportunity for Alan, for Tevian, those guys to expand their roles, get more minutes, log heavy minutes in game times, and then obviously the practice time for Kofi was instrumental in advancing him as we get ready to start in the fall.
What were some of just the takeaways you took from this trip and how the team performed in the games?
Well, I obviously, if you want to look at the numbers, you can start with Ios, and you see the hard work is paying off for him with his shooting. If you look at his shooting numbers, close to 60% from the field in 4 games. His three-point field goal percentage shooting was way up, mid-40s, and that's due to a lot of work. You look at Allen, his productivity, 9 rebounds a game, 5 of those on the offensive end. We got to see a little bit of his explosiveness in terms of having a 31-point ball game, and again a night that he was 5 of 5 from the 3. We know he's a very capable shooter. We saw Tevian log a lot of minutes, and he did that at a couple different positions, and he did it at the small forward, and he did it at the power forward spot, and he rebounded the basketball. He had a little inconsistency shooting it, maybe from the 3 that we don't expect, but that'll continue to improve. But overall, those guys' minutes. Trent was fantastic. Trent got downhill. We've been talking a lot with Trent about being more aggressive, getting to the foul line more. He was much more aggressive in terms of his attack on the front of the rim. And then I thought we got really good play out of DeMonte. DeMonte is what DeMonte does. A lot of his stuff doesn't show up in the stat sheet, but his assists, I think he had a night with eight assists, and then his presence defensively is very much a part of our team's success.
As a coaching staff, you got to see the three-point line and how that played in. How did you guys see it play into defense and as well as offense as well?
Well, it probably impacted us more defensively than it does on the offensive end, And it does, it just creates a little bit of space. We obviously played with FIBA rules. Probably the bigger adjustment for us was the wide lane. And, we shot the ball well. And I think from an offensive standpoint, it was pretty comfortable. I was really surprised we didn't step out of bounds, which we'd been doing with quite a bit of frequency in practice in the corners. And, but defensively it does. It creates a little more space, and it creates, for guys who can really shoot it, it creates, a step and a half more coverage. And, I think that can really benefit us as we work Kofi and Georgie into post-up opportunities.
What has clicked for Allen to allow him to go on that run?
Hard work. I'm so proud of Allen. He's a guy that has stayed very true to the process and listened, and he's obviously gotten stronger. That's a tribute to his hard work in the weight room. And I think with that has come some confidence. And then it was just a matter of going out and being able to play extended minutes, and we allowed him to play through some mistakes and get those out of his system. And he missed one opportunity in 4 games to go to the offensive glass, and he found out that there's a lot of points there, and he kept balls alive that he didn't even get. So I'm really proud of Allen. His hard work has paid off, and he was a big piece of everything we did over there.
I guess with Dre and Kofi, obviously they were on the trip to Miami. I guess at that point you thought you had everything in order. Do you know where or when there was something that was missed along the way?
Yeah, it was just a treaty. I mean, it affected most teams. Every country has a treaty with the country you're going to, and what the actual snafu was, we don't know. Somewhere along the line, you feel terrible for them because nobody knew about it, and yet you look out there, and almost every team we saw over there had somebody impacted and left at home because of those things. But it's tough for those guys, and yet from the basketball standpoint, we got a lot out of those 10 days.
No team is without flaws in August. You come away from that trip. Where do you feel like you are defensively compared to your expectations?
That's been the hardest part for me to assess because Kofi's such a big piece of that. 7 foot, 300 pounds, and actually 290 now, so I better make sure I get his weight right. But and then with a 7'6" wingspan, that impacts things at a drastic level. We have seen how that's affected us, and we didn't get to see the 2 big guys play together. Now, we saw a lot of that in practice, and we like that. And I think it's going to be a continual process with Georgie, but majority of our emphasis was on that end, and yet I still have a lot of questions as we continue to grow a mentality of we don't have to outscore people, we've got to stop people, and we did some positives, we did some good things, we turned people over, which is what we do, and then we still made a few too many mistakes, but that's what being in August is about. We're going to make those, and we'll see if we can get those shored up by November 8th or 9th or whenever we play our first game.
What are some of those questions you may still have after this Italy trip?
Well, we've worked really hard. I think the one thing we did do over there was not foul near as much. We've got to continue to, those young guys, Allen, Tevian, guarding the basketball one-on-one. That's been something that the game is about now. And there's so much ball screen action. We work on a lot on our ball screen coverage. We were just okay in that. And, we've got to make teams score through us, not score because we make a mistake in a rotation. And again, that's something we'll keep striving to do better.
You add Grandison and Hutcherson to your team, 2 guys from the lower level. What do you see in them? How do you evaluate guys at that level, and what do they bring to your team?
Yeah, I don't judge the level. I judge the player. And you start looking at 2 guys that have length. They're different players. Austin's a guy that can play the point. 6'6". He's a weight room away from being a really, really good player. You look at his shooting numbers. Both of these young men can really shoot it. You look at their passing numbers. They're both exceptional passers. Jacob is a tremendous rebounder and played in a system where they don't offensive rebound in the Princeton system under Coach Carmody. So they're a little bit different. They'll be older. I like the fact that they're guys that will be in our practices and in our program for 3 years. They have 2 to play, and you know, there's a maturity that comes with that, and it's a great opportunity for these young guys to come in and make us better this year, practicing against really good players, and understand our system, get stronger, develop every aspect of it physically and mentally, and then when it's their time next year, they'll be ready. And the only thing they can't do is travel with us, but they'll see Big Ten basketball, and they'll see great opponents, and you know, I'm excited about it. They fit not just the basketball-wise, but they're both outstanding students, and they're both very, very high IQ players.
Brad, you talked about how the recruiting process has changed a lot, and you guys are recruiting all the way into August here. How much is your, this kind of unconventional way of putting a team together, but is that just because of the recruiting process, or how have you guys kind of come to this way of putting together a team?
Yeah, I don't think it's really that unconventional anymore. I think it's more of the norm. I think that Oregon got a really good player yesterday, and you start looking at the way things are happening with the NBA, with guys declaring, with late transfers, with kids reclassifying, and you throw all that together, and you're gonna. It almost pays to have scholarships open and be available at the end, and so I'm excited about where we're at, and we've never filled all of our scholarships. Yes, we did last year a little bit with Tyler, but now we're in a situation where we're full, and we've got 2 guys sitting that are very, very good and will mature and grow, and when it's their time, they'll be ready.
You talked a lot about the learning experience of that trip. What was the biggest takeaway for you and maybe the players outside of basketball?
Well, I think that we look at history here as 200 years old, 300 years old, and you walk into see the painting of the Last Supper on the wall, and you see the Colosseum, one of the 7 wonders of the world, and realize what all has gone on there, and all of the just the history and the Pantheon. It's history beyond really what these guys truly know, and it's almost got makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up a little bit when you walk into the Colosseum and know what all's gone on in there. And so I think our guys enjoyed all of that, and taking all that in and seeing Florence and all the domos and Milan, Lake Como is one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen, and I think those guys enjoyed that. And there was George Clooney's house or houses, and so that's pretty cool. You get to see a little bit of that as well. But just the culture, the food, it all made it very, very special and very educational.
You were a little worried about Chin's bank account from Milan. How'd he fare?
Him standing in the tax line, getting his money back was it took him a little while, but I think we all had fun at the leather market and in Florence. But yeah, it was fun, and we had a great time. We had a great host and guides. We had two local guys from Italy who did an unbelievable job, and Maury Hanks and his crew did an unbelievable job of putting this thing together for us.
Spending all of the IO talk, how did Trent do on the trip?
Trent was great, both ends of the court, and he didn't have great shooting numbers, but he hit he does what Trent does. And I thought the one thing that his aggression was something that we've been really talking about. And he's a 14, 15 point a game scorer in his 2 years here. No reason that shouldn't go up, but we need him to be more aggressive doing that. And he's got to get to the foul line. He's got to have more opportunities, and he gets wherever he wants. And now we've got to take that next step. And I thought he did a really good job of that in Italy, and we saw marked improvement there. And then, defensively, he's one of our best defenders. He's going to hawk that ball and does a great job at denying, and was again one of our steal leaders.
How's Benjamin's health coming along, Brad?
Yeah, he's got I guess another doctor's appointment here, and as soon as he gets back, with school, and we'll get that assessed. Very precautionary. Italy didn't mean that much in terms of taking a risk to get him hurt. So we'll see, and hopefully he's making the right progress where we can get him back out here and have a very productive fall with him.
What's your schedule now moving forward next week?
Yeah, school starts. We'll be off a little bit that entire week. Just give them the adjustment period after Labor Day. They will get back in with Fletch in the weight room. They'll start there. We'll go another week to let them get through the stiffness and the soreness, and then we'll start individuals. Then we're going to assess where we're at. And practice starts September 24th or 5th, right in there. We will not start then, I can tell you that. We will probably back that up. How long, we'll see how the spring goes. I want to make sure they have the proper time with Fletch. I don't want to cut that short in terms of conditioning and what he does in the weight room. And then sometime around probably the 1st of October, we'll get cranked up with practice. But the exact date yet, we're still going to play it by ear a little bit.
You mentioned DeMonte earlier, and it seems like all those guys kind of over there raved about him, even if it wasn't, super high number production. What's his value as a teammate to this team?
Yeah, I think we all put way too much emphasis on how many points you score, and not everybody's that guy. And he works extremely hard at it, and he's very capable. I would just as soon have the 8 assists that he had in one game, and the steals, and the plays that he makes defensively. His value is probably as high as anybody who scores 20 a game in terms of his meaning on the court with his IQ and his feel. So he makes very few mistakes. And as a coach, it's very comforting to know that you trust. And my trust level with DeMonte is extremely high. And he's an unbelievable extra pass guy because he sees it and the ball never sticks in his hands. And I still want him to be very aggressive. I mean, we need to get him, to the foul line 6 to 8 times a game, and he's improved in that area a bunch.
You guys fell in the last game of the trip. Just what did you see that just kind of led to that result, that game?
Well, the other team was good. We had 7 scholarship guys, 4 games in 5 days. Were you there for that trip, that game?
Not that game, no.
You think the other gyms were hot? No, and it was great. I was ecstatic. It was good. They were a veteran team that was very skilled, and when we made a mistake, they capitalized. It was a lot of similarities to a Big Ten game. Georgie they had a lot of size. They were by far and away the biggest team we saw. And, they were older, and they played that way. I don't want to say they were super talented. I don't want to diminish them. Most of them are making a living playing basketball. But had a game plan and executed it and guarded and they made it tough for us in the paint. And, it was good for us to see that execution and what it takes.
Is it one of those losses that you just throw right back in their faces as
Yeah.
showing we have a lot more work to go before the season starts?
Yeah, that's the beauty of those trips and the beauty of exhibition games and the beauty of, we play 23, 24 minutes, you know, a 40-minute game. You start a different lineup. You let assistant coaches coach. You know, all those so you can assess certain situations and certain lineups. And it's not just about, yeah, did we want to win? Sure. But it's not just about that. It's about learning who you are and identifying with that. And when you can learn a little bit in August instead of the first few games in November, that gives you a pretty good feel. So, yeah, I told them I was ecstatic. You know, it was 4 games in 5 days and hot gyms and a lot of travel and you know, let's deal with a little adversity and mosquitoes and 95-degree gyms. So it was good for us.
Sometimes we've seen a staff like not have many options after maybe the top options go away. You guys have unturned a lot of stones in recruiting. What do you credit that to? What's up credit to?
I mean, I think a lot of work. You know, I think that, you know, I've said that the world becomes, and especially the basketball world, becomes a pretty small place. And, you know, we have so much access in technology. You know, we've had coaches in Greece. We've had, you know, daily reports coming from the U16s and as they were going on and around the world. And I think it's about connections and utilizing them, figuring out what you need. You know, we were very specific in terms of we needed a guy like Benjamin who could stretch the floor at 6'8" and physically has a body. We were looking for that. We didn't panic there. And I think that it's, and we stayed away from the grad transfer for a reason this year. And we got 2 guys that we feel great about in terms of guys that we're setting out. And I think that's a great fit for what our program needs right now. So our staff works, man. We watch a lot of film. We check out a lot of guys, and we ask a lot of the right questions. And you know, it's easy to go identify 4-star and 5-star guys. Last time I checked, you know, they're not always winning national championships.
Speaking of your staff, how much did Jeff have to get Hamlin here?
You know, I don't.
Can't talk about him yet.
Can't talk about him.
Until we can talk about it.
Thank you.
You mentioned full-on scholarships with the transfers that you did add. Bernard Kouma was signed with you. Is he someone you expect will be here when the players show up?
Yeah, Bernard's in a situation that is really beyond our control. We can't deal with. All we can do is what we can do in terms of providing paperwork, providing situations where we're at the mercy of the eligibility center there and their ongoing guidelines that they use to evaluate his status. So until we know anything more there, we're planning on him being an Illini, and we'll see from there.
In terms of liking to add different type pieces, what does Jacob Garrison give you that's maybe different than the other wings that you have?
He's a consummate forward, and I mean, when you watch him, he's an elite passer. I mean, his passing is incredible. His IQ, he's got a knack for as soon as a guy turns his head, he cuts. He gets a lot of easy baskets, and yet he's a guy that can really stretch the floor. 36, 37% three-point shooter. That will go up, I think, as he gets a year off. I think he's a guy that can be a low 40s. He took a lot of hard shots for them as their leading scorer and best player, and yet he's a guy that I loved him, his tenacity on the glass. He scored in post-ups. We like to post our forwards a lot. He does a lot of that, and I'm really excited about you know, his IQ. He's fun to sit and visit with and talk basketball, and he really sees and understands the game.
What's the transition going to be for him going from that Princeton offense to what you run?
Yeah, you know, I think that it's not a drastic difference in terms of spread and some of the Princeton stuff. The concepts are very, very similar. It's based on passing, as we are. You know, I think the one thing that will be a pleasant and fun for him is actually being able to go to the offensive glass. because they don't there. You know, they play so slow. You know, instead of him getting some opportunities on the offensive glass, him playing, he's a good athlete, and being able to run, use his ball handling skills, use his passing skills in the open court, I think all that will pay off.